Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out to CtD Tech Thursday. Welcome to the stream. Tonight we are talking to Ronald Hickland about his journeys as an entrepreneur. Of course, bringing CtD to life and his journeys to what it is now. So if you have any questions for Ron, feel free to go ahead and ask them. This podcast is going to be based around his experiences, what he's gone through, and just overall his perspective on being an entrepreneur. So I'll go ahead and bring Ron into the stream.
What's going on, man?
How's it going? How are you?
Good.
So, like I said, tonight is all about you. So, first, I want to start off by asking what inspired you to get into entrepreneurship and being a business owner?
So that's a good question. I kind of was forced into it. So I worked for a bowling ball company, right? I worked for Ebonite for almost 15 years. And then got laid off. So it was like, well, what are you going to do? Now that you're laid off, you don't have a job, you're making a lot of money. Now you're making zero. What are you going to do? And my heart's always been in bowling. I've always enjoyed bowling. This is what I wanted to do at a young age. I wanted to design bowling balls. And I actually spent a couple of months trying to figure out something else to do besides bowling, but always just came back to bowling. So at the end of the day, it was like, well, what can you do in bowling? So I was lucky to have my best friend. At the time, he actually had a partner or had a person working for him in real estate. And she was looking for something to do too. And I was like, well, I mean, maybe you can help me get this thing going. Maybe we can figure this thing out. Because she was really good on like the back end side of it. And that's my partner, Allie. So she's really good on the back end side of it. I said, I can probably do the front end side of it. I'm good at product development. We can figure out some stuff and see what happens. So that's essentially what happened. I got forced into it. And then along the way, just kind of learned some of the things that you had to do. While I was trying to figure it out, I started sponsoring a bowler. So George, I started sponsoring George, and we would travel all over the country, and we would strike to eat. Like that's how we ate, because we didn't have any other real ways of doing it. So, for me, it was kind of a forced type situation. But once I got into it, I was like, well, one, I like this. This is kind of fun. And two, I'm learning a lot and I'm having a bigger impact on the bowler. Like I'm being able to watch these bowlers use these products, or watch these bowlers take a lesson with me, or watch these bowlers get information from me and then be a better bowler as a result. Like it's like instant. So I'm like, this is cool. Like this is fun. So that's kind of how it started. And it turned into a really, really aggressive passion just to keep going and going and going and grow bowling. At the end of the day, that's what we want to do, right? Our goal is to grow bowling. Our slogan is education is creating the difference, which really means that we're all about trying to give as much education as we can as possible to the bowler so they can be a better bowler and they can reach their maximum potential. So, I mean, it's a lot of times, things happen like that, but they happen out of necessity. So like I was kind of forced to go this direction. And then once I got into it, I was like, this is good stuff.
Sure. Did you ever think that you wanted to do something along the lines of like a 9-to-5, or were you like, I want to do my own thing, I want to be my own boss?
So what's interesting about that is I was lucky enough when I was at Ebonite to kind of be my own boss. I had a boss, and he would always give me some direction, but I was kind of free to do kind of what I wanted while I was there, which allowed me to learn a whole lot of stuff. I learned a whole lot of stuff about ball motion, about balls, about cores, about covers, about coaching, just all kinds of things. So I guess you could say, given the position that I was in, it kind of became a natural fit to start to do your own thing. Because I was able to kind of do a lot of that under, with a little bit of guidance, from my boss at Ebonite. But ultimately, being in the position that we're in now, where you do kind of control your own destiny, I've always kind of been that type of person anyway. I've always been the type of person that would like to take the lead, would like to help guide, would have to help, get to the goal, plan it out to get to the goal, those kind of things. So that's always been in my nature to begin with. But I didn't really see it flourish until I got to, till we got to start our own company.
So what made you think or know that you had the right idea with CtD? That's what I wanted to do. You mentioned helping bowlers. Was that it?
So, I mean, not totally, right? So the goal has always been to help bowlers get better. And then the question is, well, how can you do that? I thought I was doing that with the bowling ball design, right? Design a bowling ball, somebody bowls well with it, you played a little part in it, like that. But really, the bowling balls don't make you better. They don't make you better. You need education. You need to know what surface to put on your ball. You need to know that wiping your ball off every shot's important because it allows your reaction to be consistent. You need to know that standing in the right part of the lane and throwing it at the right part of the lane is going to give you can give you more area to miss than in another part of the lane. You need to know that having 5 different layouts isn't nearly as important as having 5 different surfaces. So at the end of the day, for us, or for me specifically, it was how can I help educate bowlers and help them get better faster? And the key was the education. But the education doesn't always pay the bills, right? Like it doesn't pay the bills. So you got to figure out a way to pay your bills too. So then it was like, well, why don't we offer products that can help bowlers be better too? So our products pay the bills and the education is the key. I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, if you join our group or get in with us, it's really about the education. I was at a spot where I watched people get free ball after free ball after free ball after free ball, but not get any better. Which would tell you that the free balls isn't the answer. You know what I'm saying? But if I said, hey, did you know that, if you take this particular bowling ball here and you change the surface on it, it may be a better fit for the line condition you're bowling on. Oh, I didn't know that. And they try that. Oh, I bowled better. Or, hey, did you know this is the reason why your ball loses performance? Or, hey, did you know? So those kind of things. Or even from a physical standpoint, I do and have done a lot of lessons, raw lessons. You know what I mean? Like people say, I want to get better at timing. I want to get better at hooking the ball more. I want to know what to do when transition hits. So all those things are education. So being able to figure out how to chase the passion of wanting to help bowlers become better, and then knowing that I have the technical background to create some products that can back that up, it became a really good fit. Then it's just about getting the right kind of people around you to help you grow that thing. Nobody can do it by themselves. I had a lot of support from other companies in the industry. I had a lot of support from the people that were with me. My parents are a big support. Like I said, my partner is a big support. The employees that we have now are great supports. Without them, none of this happens. And last but not least, we have a staff. So without the staff, we don't get the traction that we need either. So at the end of the day, the focus was on trying to figure out a way to help bowlers become better and then do it in a manner that allowed us to be able to pay our bills.
Sure. So you mentioned your background. Of course, you have the background in engineering. How did that help you, one, make product decisions, business decisions, but did you make any steps to be an entrepreneur, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so I mean, some of the engineering is really about understanding how a process works, right? So you take a product, you take a process, you take whatever, and you figure out how to tear it apart and put it back together. So you understand the process. Well, that thought process applies to anything you do in life. It applies to how do we decide to go to making a product? How do we go to decide how to get a product to market? How do we get enough bowlers interested in what we're doing? So that's all a process. So what happens is you use the engineering side of your brain to develop a product, and then you start figuring out ways to market it, ways to get people to understand it. And here's the thing: if the product is no good and doesn't work, then all that's for nothing. So above all, the product's got to be good. But that's where the engineering background comes into play. I knew how to test and to develop products. That's what I was really good at. So I would leverage that side of my expertise to develop products that we knew would work, that we knew would be, that if a customer tried it, they're not going back. So that's kind of having that engineering background or having that ability to think through problems, because at the end of the day, it's all problem solving. If you think about it, all businesses are that way, right? Like any business that you shop at or anything that you end up buying, it's because it's somehow going to help you or somehow going to solve a problem you have. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if you can think of that, think of how can you solve problems and then figure out ways to do it, you win. And engineering gives you the process, the thinking process that you have to be able to go through that and figure out, well, what are the challenges and then how to solve them. Because I was a bowler, figuring out what the challenges were was a lot easier because you're a consumer. Like
Sure.
We made a ball cleaner because as a bowler, I no longer was able to get free bowling balls. So I knew my bowling balls were going to die. And I knew that I had bowling balls that I didn't want to die. So I wanted to do something to help slow that process down, which was a ball cleaner. So you end up solving your own problems, and those problems are problems that other people have. And then ultimately you're in a situation where you can, begin to get a company going.
Okay, great. So we have a question for you.
All right.
What is favorite part of your job? What's the favorite part of your job?
That's easy. So for me, the most enjoyable thing that I really, really like, it just makes me happy, is knowing that you helped somebody and seeing it. So it comes in a lot of different forms. It comes in customer feedback, customers coming back to us saying, hey, I saw you at this tournament and you gave me that little tip and it worked. Or it comes from like people that you interact with. Hey, you're coaching somebody and you're like, and you watch the light bulb kind of go off in their head when you told them the thing and it finally clicked them and they're like, oh, that's what you meant. Or even like something simple like YouTube comments. Like we see, I'm a big fan of reading comments, positive and negative. That's how you learn. So even seeing YouTube comments is a big deal for me because it allows me more information to be able to see if I'm helping. And as long as I'm helping, it's good. Like that's the best part of the job, is knowing that you are having a positive impact on somebody else's life. And here's why. At some point, we're all going to die. Like that's just how it works, right? That you're here for a finite amount of time, and when your time is up, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
So then there's a question, well, why are you here? What are you here to do? So I believe that I'm here to help other people become better. Like that's what I believe. So the things that I do, the things that I preach, the things that I teach are all geared toward that. And it's not just bowling related. It can be, life related type stuff as well. I do a lot of speaking to kids to try to get them to get involved with STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. I'm a big fan of trying to get people to get more involved in that in the sciences, because that is where the real the real innovation, the real change, the real long lasting change will happen. So big fan of doing that too. So I think that it's crucial and it's key that you find whatever you're passionate about, and then you figure out a way to be able to do that and help somebody else. Because if you can help somebody else, I think ultimately you win. And when you are dead and gone, you're not dead and gone. Like your body's dead and gone, but the legacy that you left behind is very much alive, very important. And I think that is kind of the purposes of why you're here in the first place.
Sure. I'll piggyback off that question. You mentioned what you enjoy most about it. Well, what's the hardest part about it?
So I'm kind of impatient. So sometimes you want things to go by a little faster than they are going to happen. You know what I mean? Like you want things to go a little faster than they are, and that can be frustrating at times. You're always going to have things that come up too that are going to be obstacles, and it comes down to figuring out an effective way to adjust and pivot around those things, around those situations that are either negative, or around those things that are like this pandemic. This pandemic is a negative situation, and it can slow down your progress. Obviously, I mean, it slowed down the whole world. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we're all cruising along, and then all of a sudden it's like everything stops. So that's probably the hardest part. And because of that, you have to be vigilant in knowing why you're doing what you're doing, focusing on why you're doing it. Because when it gets tough, when it gets hard, that's the thing that keeps you going.
Okay. Have you ever made sort of a decision? It's like, oh man, I should have thought that one out a little bit more.
Oh man, all the time, bro. It happens all the time. So to this day, I think this is what I always tell people. I said, I'm not always right. And a lot of times I'm wrong, like just flat out wrong. But I'm right more than I'm wrong. And because of that, I'm willing to take that risk to try to do the best I can with what I got.
Sure.
You may, like I said, you may make a decision. Let's see here. So, so maybe here's one that could be one of those things where it's like, man, you probably could do that differently. So after I got let go and we did the whole thing, I did the whole thing with bowling and sponsoring and made that kind of like my career for a little bit. I went to work for Extra Frame. So I went to work for the PBA. And I was doing commentating for the PBA. And that was going okay. It was going well, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't satisfying enough. I was helping people. I'm on the air talking about what we're seeing in the bowling and that kind of stuff, but it wasn't enough. But I think I probably could have stayed there probably another 6 months, with them. And that probably would have gave me just a little bit sharper of an edge when it came to just really, really understanding the mind of a professional bowler. So I look back at that and go, I probably should have stayed there a little bit longer. But, the same thing. It was time to move on to something else. I had something else I could do. So I started working at the thing and, that's how it worked. You can't dwell on those things too long. It's okay to think about it a little bit, but not too long. Because at the end of the day, you can't change the past.
Sure. So looking towards the future, what area or products do you see as the next growth for CtD?
So I think CtD really can expand on the educational component of what we're doing. We do some videos now. We have our Facebook group and we do a lot of education in there, but we don't have a comprehensive program. I'll tell you a lot of that's just because we don't have the access to the equipment, like the lanes that you would need to be able to have a comprehensive program. So I really think that CtD's got a huge opportunity for growth, primarily in just the educational component of teaching bowlers more about these things that they can do to make themselves better. So I believe that you'll see more stuff from us in that light. You'll see more videos. You'll see more focus on the education side of it. You'll see more development on tools or technology to help make bowlers better. Like that's where we're going to kind of focus on, because I believe that if you make that component happen, you grow bowling, like you grow all of bowling.
Mm-hmm. All right. So another question: what has been your biggest struggle, and how did you overcome it?
I think honestly, my biggest struggle with the whole process of developing or building a company was really just my perception of who I thought my friends were, believe it or not. So check this out. So one of the things, and this was very hard to understand. I thought that I'd helped a whole lot of people, and that a lot of people that I had worked with, that were coworkers, that were friends, that these kind of things, that we were mutually friends and everything was good. And then when I got let go, there were some people that I thought were my friends that just vanished, like just gone. And you're like, well, how does that happen? Like, I helped you get a job and now you're turning your back on me? Like, what? And that was tough. Like, that was hard, because I thought that these people were my friends. I thought I thought these people cared about me, but at the end of the day, they didn't. And how you overcome it is you figure out that at the end of the day, only you can make or not make yourself happy. So just because somebody else doesn't see your worth, doesn't see your value, used you as another example, doesn't mean that makes you any less of a person. And once I saw that, these things that I'm doing are working, like they are helping people. And you're going to have some people that take advantage of that. Some people are going to, say they're cool with you, but as soon as they're, you can't give them something, they're out. That's part of the process. That's part of how it works. Once you understand it, then you just can move on. Mm-hmm. So you put the focus where it needs to be, which for me was on continuing to help the bowler, Don't worry about if 2 or 3 or 4 people decide that they want to turn their back on you. Keep helping the bowler because there's 10, there's 20. I got 3,000 people that like what we're doing, that are avid fans for what we're doing. So you focus on them, and the 5 or 10 or 50 people that don't want to help or want to hurt, let them just stay in their own little lane. At the end of the day, they're probably not very happy themselves, because if they were happy, they would probably be helping or congratulating or trying to grow bowling instead of trying to tear down and, those kind of things. So you just have to change your mindset. That's the biggest thing. I guess the struggle was the mindset that I had, that everybody was your friend if you were their friend, and then learning that that's not the case, and then overcoming it by realizing that you make yourself happy. You have the right kind of focus and the right kind of things, and it'll work itself out in the end anyway.
Sure. So I want to kind of go off of that and talk about when first product the CtD put out, Purple Stuff, at the beginning. That product had a lot of hate. From my perspective, I joined CtD in 2018 as an employee. From my perspective, it was like, wow, are they really doing that? No way. But it's like, I know they're not. And it's like Fabuloso and water. It's like, no way. So I want to know from your perspective, how did you deal with it, and how did you turn it into a positive?
So that was such an interesting thing for me, because essentially what had happened was we were in a position where we went to a company, we wanted to find a scent, right? We wanted a scent for our product. And the problem was, I asked specifically for the most popular scent, which happened to be lavender. I mean, I didn't even know what Fabuloso was at the time, but that's what we got. So anyway, we're all going along and things are great or whatever. And then we see this people say, hey, well, it's Fabuloso. And I'm like, well, what's Fabuloso? Let's go find out what Fabuloso is. So we find out what it is. And we're like, hey, it smells very similar to what we got. So that's how the thing kind of started. And people were like, oh, well, it's just Fabuloso and water. It's just Fabuloso and alcohol and water and all this and that. And I'm like, well, one, it's not. But the fact is, if you tried that, like I said, well, let's get some and let's try. Let's build some of this Fabuloso, right? So we do it, and I never forget when we did it. So we did it with the guy, and there's a blind test, and he puts it on the ball, cleans the ball with it, and the ball goes 60 feet. And I'm like, well, this is great. And everybody's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, this is great. It goes straight. Like, it makes your ball go straight.
Mm-hmm.
So if you use this stuff, you're going to need Purple Stuff to get it off. So I'm like, this is great. So I'm like, let the people that are hating, let them hate, because what'll happen is it'll make somebody else curious to go, well, just like you said, well, what is that? Is that really what they're doing? Which may turn some people to go, well, let me try it.
Mm-hmm.
So then if they try our product, it's over. Like, nobody ever said our product didn't work. They said a lot of things about us, but they never said that stuff doesn't work, right? And then if they're like, well, let me try the Fabuloso, and they try the Fabuloso and your ball goes 60 feet, they're going, oh, well, obviously that's not what it is, because now my ball sucks. And I need to get it off. So then they would go buy Purple Stuff. So it was like a win-win. And the best story about that was there was an e-tailer guy, and he was just hating, just jealous. I mean, he's just jealous, but he's just hating on me, right? He doesn't like me. He's a big, well, it's just this. It's just that he's the big Fabuloso guy, right? So he's an e-tail guy. So I made a video with one of the bowlers who's a pro bowler, and we make the video, and he throws the ball down the lane. He leaves the flat 10 pin, and I go, okay, wipe the ball off with the Purple Stuff and a power pad, and he does, and he strikes. So we put the video up, and it gets decent amount of traction. This hater e-tail guy, he sees it, and he's like, well, he threw it differently. He didn't throw it the same, and that's why the ball struck. He didn't throw it the same. Well, you can't. I mean, bro, you're watching it from a camera. You can't see it, and it's 60 feet away. What are you talking about? Okay, no problem. So I said, this is what we're going to do. So me and the pro bowler, we go back and shoot the video again. Except this time I said, we're going to do it live. I said, we're not going to play any games. We're not going to edit. We're just going to do it live. So we were using this thing called Periscope, which Periscope is it was like Facebook Live for Twitter.
Yep.
So what we did was we set up this. We called it Ghetto Cats, but what it was PVC pipe that we had went in the gutter and went up and over, and then had two pieces hanging down. So it was like you had to
get through it,
right? Or else the ball was going to be in a different spot. So I said we're going to set this up, and then I'm going to go on Periscope, and we're going to talk until you leave a flat 10 pin, and then we're going to keep going. So anyway, so we get this thing set up. We got the two poles, and literally like the first or second shot that we do, he goes right through the poles and flat 10 pins. So I'm like, we got to go. So I go back. I say, okay, cool. So you just saw it. He left the flat 10 pin. He went through the poles. Now we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to wipe it off with purple stuff and a microfiber towel, and we're going to throw it again, see what happens. And literally, he threw the very next shot. He split the pole, and the ball goes high flush strikes.
Ace
it was perfect. So at that point, that shut the e-tail guy who was hating on me up. He couldn't say anything because now we got proof it went through the exact same poles and it struck. So that video ended up getting like 100,000 views, and it blew up. Like this video just blew up. So because of that hater comment ended up being a positive for us as a company, because he forced me to reshoot that video. In reshooting that video became very popular. And because it was live and no editing, there wasn't a whole lot you could say about it. Like you couldn't beat that one up because it was live.
Right.
So it ended up being a really good thing for us. And ultimately, that was one of the things that I really am proud of, because we were able to take a situation that could have been a very bad negative, and we were able to spin it around and turn it to a good positive.
Sure. So what is something you have learned since you started? One lesson, whether it be not listening to the haters, how you run the business. What's something that you wish you would have known when you started?
I think the one thing that you don't know until you're doing it is how much you'll have to adapt.
Sure.
If you want to be successful in business, and I believe this applies to any business, is you have to be very, very in depth with what's going on with your consumer and be able to adapt. Because if you don't adapt, you'll die. The best way to describe that is, when we first started, it was purple stuff. Then we had Wow Factor TR, which was a product that you use anytime that make your ball go longer and hook later. Then we had Wow Factor HM. So we had 3 products, and all they did was change your ball reaction or clean your ball, but you had to use them while you're bowling. And then there was a USB-C rule change. And the rule change said, no more products while you're bowling. And I remember going online and seeing all the comments, and the haters were back again. They're like, CtD is going to go out of business. And there was even a manufacturer saying we're going to go out of business. But there's a lot of hate about this is going to put us under. This is going to, take us out. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, well, this is just another obstacle you got to overcome. So figure out something else. You don't have to just make these types of products. Make something else. So we had been working on another project, but it wasn't finished just because we were doing so well with the other cleaning products. And I was like, wow, well, we'll just do this product. So we'll just finish this one up, and we'll do it. We had some time. I was grateful because USB-C said, hey, we're going to make the announcement now that there will be no more cleaning products, but there'll be a whole nother year before we actually enforce it. So they gave us time to finish out the development. And then after the rules hit, we had sanding pads.
Yep.
The sanding pads are before and after. The sanding pads are way bigger than the cleaning product because, other companies may not use our cleaning products because they make cleaning products. But I got every other company using our sanding pads.
Right.
They have employees or staffers that use our sanding pads because they like their sanding pads better. So, and they're not really conflict. So you have to be able to adapt. And if you can't pivot and you can't pivot quickly, it hurts you. Our business model is very, very different, with the current situation being that everybody's kind of in a situation where they've got to wear masks. Well, now we offer masks. And USBC made an interim rule change where you can use isopropyl alcohol while you're bowling. So we got isopropyl alcohol. You have to be able to adapt quickly like that if you want to survive. And I believe that this situation, the whole pandemic situation, has really accelerated companies being forced to adapt or die.
Sure. Yeah, pivots are super, super important when it comes to that kind of stuff. Whether it be pivoting or adapting to the situation. It's, from what I know, it's very, very crucial to being successful. So I want to go to sort of a different area. So this question is, what have you experienced positive and negative with being a Black entrepreneur?
So the one thing that I would tell you that is probably negative is you're always having to prove yourself. And I believe that is especially true as a Black entrepreneur. I believe that. I believe that if we go to market and we say something, we have to have data point after data point after data point, which I'm okay with getting, by the way. But you've got to have way more data. Whereas if somebody else says it or does it with the same product, they just take it as face value. They just say, oh yeah, well, if they said it, then it's true. They don't have to have any proof. They don't have to back up anything. It's just kind of whatever they felt. And we said it, so it's true. So I believe that it's not that there is this need or this feeling that you have to back up your stuff, which luckily, as an engineer, that's how you operate. You operate through the data collection tells you what the answer is, not you get the answer and then go get the data. It's the other way around. We get the data first, and it tells you what the answer is. So we've always got data. And a lot of times there's data that we'll have that we just don't put out until we need it. We just don't put all of it out. And that's a challenge, because if you're really trying to reach the masses, you're really trying to help a lot of people, you need to be able to go fast, right? You need to be able to reach people, give them the information, and keep moving. But you'll find that you'll have to, keep going over it again and give some more examples and bring some more data into the equation and go through this kind of a struggle to get to be heard, to be able to say, well, this is why we are believing. This is why we're saying this. That's probably one of the hardest things. And I do believe that as a Black entrepreneur in bowling, it's tougher, because I've seen situations and experienced situations where that was exactly the case, where I would say something and I had a white counterpart say the exact same thing, except when I said it, it was, well, give me, we don't believe you, so give me more information. We don't believe you. But then when they said it, it was, oh yeah, well, if they said it, it's good. So I think that's probably the hardest thing. The best part is, for me, the best part, I think, is knowing that you're able to have that positive impact. You're able to make that difference. And it's not fake. It's not, it's raw. It's raw. So when you talk to these people, or when you interact with these people, or when you email or text or respond to comments, it's real. They don't have the preconceived notions, and they're hungry and wanting the information. So to be able to give it to them, and give it to them unabated, without anybody trying to beat you down or suppress you or stop you from doing it, that's awesome. That is really, really, really a good feeling for me as a person, because I believe that because of that, you're having this positive impact that is what the whole goal is in the first place.
Okay. So going back more towards CtD entrepreneurship, what habits have helped you be successful in business and, I guess, daily life as well?
So I think the things that matter the most or have helped the most for me are a couple things. One, I do a lot more reading. I do a lot more following other entrepreneurs. I go to entrepreneur conferences. I try to interact with as many people that are in the same kind of boat as I'm in. I think that's a big one. And the other one is, honestly, is working out. I wasn't really a huge fan of working out, but working out is very therapeutic. it's very, for me, a lot of my best ideas come from the gym, come from working out, because when you're working out, you're focused on what you're doing, and then you can dissociate from what you're doing, and just your brain just freely thinks. And sometimes you need that to really come up with good ideas. Like sometimes that's what you don't need to be thinking about it. It needs to be almost subconscious and let it just kind of come to the surface. So I think the working out is a huge, huge deal for me. And then educating myself, because this is all self-taught. I didn't go to school for entrepreneurship. In hindsight, I probably wish I would have. I went to school for engineering. So learning this stuff from people that have already done it, following them on YouTube, following them on Instagram, reading their autobiographies, just kind of listening to what they say has been a very big help, I think, too, along the way.
Yeah, I know Gary Vee is a pretty big influence on you, correct?
Yep, I like him a lot.
And another person I know is pretty influential for you is Elon Musk and Tesla.
Yep.
So how has he impacted your path as a business owner?
So I'm a big fan of Tesla for a lot of reasons. The biggest reason is because I feel like Tesla as a company was not supposed to make it. And I feel like there's a lot of parallels to CtD and Tesla. I believe like Tesla was this little car company that wanted to do something very, very different in an industry that was dominated by three major companies. And like nobody else is supposed to get in. But they've been able to get themselves in. And not only did they get themselves in, but they got themselves in, and now they're ahead. Like now the big three companies are chasing them, which I think is really cool. But the story of how they got to that spot is very, very interesting to me and was very, very influential to me, because what it basically said was that if you are determined to figure out a way to get in, you can. And that's the same thing in the situation that I was in. I designed bowling balls. I'm done doing that. Like I was done designing bowling balls. But if I'm determined to stay in bowling, there's got to be another lane. There's got to be something else. You've got to find it. You got to figure it out. And you want to do it in a way that allows you to get in. So that means you can't be a threat to the big three or big four manufacturers. You can't be a threat to them. So, the ball cleaner is an easy thing in, and it helps, and it gets you going. And then the sanding pads, well, that's super good, because now nobody's upset with you, because the manufacturers of the sanding pads, Aberlon and Sia, aren't in bowling. Like they're just not in bowling. So, so you don't have any competition really there from that side of it. And the other manufacturers, they're okay with what we're doing, because our goal is education. They believe it. They support that. So they're willing to help you, let you kind of do your own thing. So that I think is the whole key, to be able to get going and get some positive traction out of it. And that all kind of stems from the thought process of thinking, or in this case, working out, or, learning from other people. The same thing with Gary Vee. Gary Vee I think is very important from an entrepreneur standpoint, because he gets you thinking about ways to be positive, like how to look at things positive. And the more positive you look at things, the easier it is to find solutions. When everybody's negative, when everybody's down, it's hard to really get out of that funk and find solutions. Mm-hmm. But if you can figure out ways to be positive, you can find solutions, and solutions can make you a lot of money.
Sure.
Look at Amazon. Amazon is a good example of that, because I like Bezos too. Amazon's a good example of that, right? Like Amazon doesn't have any inventory. Amazon doesn't really do anything other than offer a platform for people to go buy stuff, right? That's what they do. It's a platform. But they've got it so customer focused that everybody goes on Amazon to shop, including myself. So solving problems, gets the problem of being able to get what you want quickly. Amazon has worked really, really hard to solve it. And because of that, Bezos is the richest man in the world. So the point is that the key is figuring out how you can solve problems. And the more problems you can solve, the better off it is for everybody, especially if you're doing it in the right vein.
Okay. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
What is one or two things you would ask Elon Musk?
If I met Elon Musk, wow, that's a good one, right? So I probably would ask him, where does he see the companies that he's in charge of in 10 years? Where does he see them? Because that's the key, right? The key is the vision. If you understand a person's vision, then you can understand their path. So we know what's happened 10 years behind. You know, we can look back. But what's funny about him specifically is he actually wrote a thing that said this is where we want to be at in 10 years or 5 years. This is where we're going to be at another 5 years. And he's kind of basically followed that path. So to me, if I got to meet him, I would ask him, where do you see these companies like Tesla in 10 years? Where do you see them? Because then it'll help understand the thought process on how to get there. And knowing that he's already done it before with Tesla, knowing that he's already done it with SpaceX, knowing that he's doing it with the Boring Company, knowing that he's doing it with the solar company, Solar City company, to me, that's the key. You want to understand their thought process. So that'd be a big one I'd ask him. And the next one I'd probably ask him is, can I get one of those Roadster 2.0s? Because that's what I really want.
How about a flamethrower?
No, see, I messed that up. That will never happen again. I had an opportunity to buy a flamethrower, and I was talked out of it. And I've decided that will never happen again. If there is something that I want, I don't care how ridiculous it is. If I had a flamethrower right now, it would be awesome. I could do videos of me catching bowling balls on fire. Do reactive balls burn the same way urethane balls burn? I don't think so. Do polyester balls burn differently? I don't think so. Would that video have a lot of views? Probably. Why? Because I don't know anybody who's ever had a flamethrower on a bowling ball before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, so it's all about being prepared, and you don't know what you're being prepared for, but you should. If you feel like this is something that can help, maybe later, you never know. What if we were in a zombie apocalypse? If we were in a zombie apocalypse, having that flamethrower could be important. You know what I mean? What if I was like in the woods somewhere and it was cold and I didn't have a fire to start, but I have a flamethrower? All of a sudden, I got the answer. So
solution.
That will never happen again, dude. If there is something that I think that I should probably pick up, even though it may be a little ridiculous at the time, I'm just going to buy it at this point. Like we're done. We're done because I feel bad about that, and they sold out like immediately, so I can't even get one.
So Robert asked a question, kind of off of what you would ask Elon Musk. Where do you see CtD in 10 years?
So CtD in 10 years, in my opinion, will be the premier source of bowler education. We will have the ability to. This is what I think the whole shebang is. This. We will have the ability to validate, to prove that we can make you a better bowler. And what that means is you have to be able to measure the bowler. Like there's not enough tools in bowling that really measure the bowler. We can measure the ball, we can measure the ball path, but we don't measure the bowler. So I think the key for us is to develop tools that actually measure the bowler. And then if we have measurement, we can put metrics to it. If we can put metrics to it, we can quantify it. If we can quantify it, we can improve it. So I think CtD in 10 years will be the premier source to make bowlers better. Like we'll be able to prove it. It'll be like if you come and you spend 3 days with us and you come in, I'm making this up. You come in at a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10. By the time you leave, you're going to be at 8, and we're going to be able to prove that you're going to be able to be at an 8 by this, and this. And I believe that is the key to keeping people in bowling. That is the key to getting bowling to a spot to where it's more respected. And that is the key to allowing consumers the opportunity that want to get better and are discouraged because they haven't gotten better, the ability to get better.
Sure. Yeah, we talked about that last week, how if you don't get better, that's not something you're going to stay in. So if you have a platform to go to get better, you're gonna do it if it's something that you're passionate in.
Right.
So what are some key activities that you would recommend to entrepreneurs to invest their time in?
So if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to get in the game, the first thing I would say is you want to follow some people that are doing what you're doing. Social media is a wonderful thing. It allows you to get inside their head sometimes. It allows you to understand what they do. It allows you to see kind of the path they took. So I'd say follow people that do what you're doing. I would say it's crucial to network, right? So finding people, finding network opportunities that exist out there in your field or in things that you're trying to do are important. And then reach out to those people. Like reach out to them, send them an email. People send me emails, or they'll DM me or hit me up on Facebook Messenger or whatever. And I like responding. Like, I believe that that's part of the goal, is to help other people, along their path as well. So reach out to them. Doesn't mean that every time somebody's going to respond, but nonetheless, you don't know if you don't try. And I believe that's the way you learn. Like, that's the way you learn. Go find somebody who's already done what you're trying to do, and then take the good from them and leave the bad from them behind.
Sure. Who are some people that you looked at when you were starting CtD?
So for me, the first one that I kind of ran into was Gary Vee, right? I was kind of like, well, this guy's an entrepreneur, and I want to be an entrepreneur, so maybe I should see what he's doing. So watched a lot of his content, learned a lot of ideas from his content, reading the book of the autobiography sort of Elon Musk was a big deal, because that gave me some other ideas and thought process changes. And even like, now to this day, there are specific people that I will listen to. There are specific things that I look to try to get, because you never know. Like, you never know where inspiration will come from. Every year I go to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, which is nothing to do with bowling, but it's everything to do with technology. And for me, the exposure to these unique things, or other opportunities, or other things that exist in the world, allows me the opportunity to open my eyes to new things, and can bring those technologies or those ideas back into the sport of bowling. So it's about finding people at conferences, and it's about finding people online. And the things that I'm telling you to do are the things that I do. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I've got to this spot too. You find these people, and you latch on, and you start to learn. And like I said, nobody's perfect, and nobody does everything right, but there's good and bad. So the goal is to find the balance of the good and the bad, and get enough people that you can kind of take from little pieces from, and then go on from there. Sure.
So going off of that, who has been your greatest inspiration, whether it be somebody somebody, a family member, or family in general, or Gary Vee, Elon Musk? Who would that be?
Yeah, I mean, I think my parents, and probably my dad more so than anybody else, because my dad got me into bowling. You know what I mean? Without that support, it could be impossible, bro. It could be impossible. There are some things that happen, and some situations that you're in, and there's nobody that's going to understand you like your family does. You know what I mean? Like, there's nobody that's going to quite get it. And my parents have been very, very supportive. They're still very, very supportive. They travel, they go, and they sell products, and they help us with the product and the whole nine. So it's been really good to be able to have them kind of go along on this journey with me. And I also think it also comes down to people you surround yourself with. My partner is a big deal. My staff is a big deal. Without these people in these places, none of it works. You need people to help you keep the ship going the right direction. Any entrepreneur that thinks that they're doing it on their own, if they are, they're not going to be very successful. Like, you just can't be. It's just too much. There's too much. You're only going to be good at certain things. And I know the things that I'm good at, and I find people to help at the things that I'm not good at. And if you do that, then as a group, you can begin to move forward. You can begin to get bigger. You can begin to help more people. But the first time you get to a spot to where you think, well, you don't need anybody, you can do it by yourself, you're on your way down, bro.
Yeah, sure. So I want to ask you two more questions. They're not really related to entrepreneurship stuff, but maybe this will help people get to know you a little bit better. Okay. Outside of bowling, what are some of your passions?
So for me, if I'm not focused on the bowling, I think a lot of my focus then is on personal development, trying to learn to become a better person, whether that's through self-help books, whether that's through counseling or therapy. There's all kinds of opportunities out there that can help you as a person become a better person. Because I'm gonna tell you, it's hard. Like, it's hard to be an entrepreneur. Everybody thinks it's great and the money is good, which it is. The money's good. Like, there's a whole lot of good to it. I got a nice house. I got a nice car. I have a great family. I got great friends. I mean, there's a lot of nice stuff to it. But believe me, it is incredibly lonely and incredibly hard too. So you've got to find some things to help with that other side of it, right? With that side of it. So trying to find new opportunities for growth, like internal growth, personal growth, is a big deal. And this whole shutdown thing, the whole COVID thing and slowing everything down is kind of giving me a little more perspective on some things to help with that. So it's really been a good thing for me to slow down a little because I was go, 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 go. And now it's like, well, you don't have to go as much and you can still be productive. Like, so it's definitely, so I would say that's a big one. And then I think, I'm really big into cars. Like I really, really like cars, not just my car. I like all cars, and I've always liked cars. So I've liked working on cars. I like waxing my own car. I just like automobiles. I think they're fun. It's a freedom type thing. And that was one of the reasons why I ended up buying the Tesla that I got, because in my opinion, that's the best car that exists right now. Until the Roadster comes out. When the Roadster comes out, then that'll be the best car. And then I got to figure out a way to get enough money to be able to afford that car. So anyway, but yeah, cars. I'm a big fan of cars. I like to understand them and understand how they work. And that's to me has always been a thing of mine that I've always enjoyed too.
Cool. Not golf.
So I'm not very good at golf, Bill. I can hit the ball, but I have a tough time knowing where it's going. And that's a great question. So look, the reason why I wouldn't say dislike golf, but the reason why I don't like golf is because I don't get better at it. I don't have a coach. I don't have somebody that's like, yo, if you do this, then it'll help you with your, with your contact angle on the ball. If you did this, you'll be able to hit the ball further. I don't have that coach, that educational group, that Facebook group, that staff, that opportunity to really get better. So I'm stagnant. And because I'm stagnant, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So it's not fun for me, which is exactly why with the bowling thing, I'm like, well, we can make bowlers better. I know how to do that part. So, that's why we do what we do on the bowling side.
Sure.
Because I'm just not good at golf.
Sure. Last question. What is something interesting about yourself that people might not know?
Interesting that they may not know.
Interesting experience, something you've done in bowling, something.
So, I really like roller coasters.
Really?
And I hated roller coasters. So check this out. So all through college, hated roller coasters. Probably the first 8 years at Ebonite, hated absolutely deadly terrified of roller coasters.
Oh.
And then one time I was in Texas and I was doing some testing and we're done testing and I was with some friends and they were like, well, let's go to Six Flags. And I was like, oh boy. But it was me, 2 guys and their wives. And let's go to Six Flags. So I'm like, all right, sure, let's go. And the first thing they want to do is they want to go on the tallest, fastest. And I'm like, it would be a disaster. Well, one wife, she recognizes that I'm scared to death of this situation, right? And she's like, you're kind of scared about this, huh? And I was like, yeah. I don't really like a roller coaster. She's like, well, why not? And I'm like, because they feel like you're gonna die. This is terrible. I don't want to do this. She's like, you're gonna ride with me. And I'm like, okay, it's still gonna be scary.
Yeah.
It's still gonna suck, but okay, whatever. So get on a roller coaster, and I'm gripping the bar, bro, and my knuckles are turning white. It's like I got the Kung Fu death grip on the thing, right? And she's like, let go of that. I'm like, I can't. I'm scared. We're gonna die.
We're gonna fall out.
Yeah, you're gonna fall out. I'm like, she's like, we're not gonna fall out. She's like, look. She's like, just let go of that thing. And she said, let's just talk. So I'm like, okay. So I let go and I turn and we're just talking. Me and her just talking, right? And then the roller coaster takes off or whatever. And when it was all done, I was like, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought, as I remembered a long time ago. It just wasn't as bad. So she was like, let's do it again. So we did another roller coaster. So by the time it was done, I was like, I'm all in on this roller coaster thing. So now, just that conversation allowed me to overcome that fear of the roller coaster. And now I love going to roller coaster rides. So we get a season pass to Six Flags. I live in Chicago. We get a season pass to Six Flags Chicago, and we go burn that thing up. Well, normally when we can now, but right now we can't do anything. But normally we burn that pass all up because we go all the time. We go the same rides over and over and over again. And it was the same thing with my daughter too. So like the very first time she was scared out of her mind, white knuckles, the whole nine. And I was like, look, there's two things you got to do. One, we're going to talk. We're just going to talk the whole time. And then two, when we go down, because the down part is the part that's scary, when we go down, I want you just to exhale. So on the way up, we're gonna breathe in, we're gonna hold it. So we breathe in and we hold it. And then as soon as we start to go down is when you just blow out, and you keep blowing out until you get to the bottom of the hill, right? So I told her to do that, right? And sure enough, she does it, and she's blowing out. And then we do the whole ride or whatever. And I was like, how was it? She was like, well, that was fun. Let's go do it. I got her hooked on it too. So that's probably something most people don't know about. But I actually like roller coasters. So if I'm ever in your area and you got a amusement park or whatever, I'm in.
Nice. All right. So we got just a couple of questions here.
Sure.
If you had the opportunity to partner with a manufacturer to include a true cut pad with every ball, like track does with chamois, would you do it to educate people about surface?
So we would. I mean, we're in a unique position. We can do whatever we want. We're not tied to any manufacturer. We like them all equally. If a manufacturer came to us and was like, yo, we want to do something with the true cut pads, are you interested? We would do it because it's for the betterment of the bowler. I would also say that, from our standpoint, it's just about helping the bowler. So I don't really care if they want to use Abralon, use Abralon. If you're like, I like Abralon, then just use Abralon. That's cool. Do whatever you need to do to have you have a pleasurable experience and enjoy this game. If you use our products, great. If you don't, that's great too. I don't really care as long as you're having fun, you're enjoying the game, and you're getting better. As long as those things are happening, everybody gets to win. And I believe that is where the focus for the industry needs to be. How do we make everybody win?
Sure.
If everybody's focusing on that, then the other stuff will disappear on its own. And ultimately, we as an industry will be able to thrive, even when the situation is, kind of gloomy as it is right now.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So, you have anything else that you want to add?
I mean, I think, the one thing I do want to touch on is kind of the situation that we're in right now with the whole, the country's in turmoil, and there's this big push with the Black Lives Matter thing, and there's a big push for change. And I think that it's important for people to embrace that, right? To embrace change, to look at this situation and figure out how to grow from it so that these types of things don't happen again, so that everybody's a little bit more empathetic toward each other. Everybody has a little bit more compassion toward each other, so that ultimately people can feel comfortable, people can feel safe, people can feel protected. And these negative thoughts and feelings and aggression and anger can subside. And I think we've got to find positive ways for that to happen. I believe bowling is a positive way for that to happen. I believe there's lots of other ways that it can happen too. And I think that if people listen more, if people can be a little bit more empathetic to the situation and to the things that are happening, I think ultimately everybody wins from the situation that happened. And I think that's got to be the goal. Like, that's got to be the goal. If we as a American society don't make some positive change as a result of the situation that has occurred, then we haven't learned. And if we're not learning, we're not getting better. If we're not getting better, then it's bad. It's bad for everybody. So we've got to make some positive change. And I believe that we're at a spot now as a country that there's enough people that care to make a change, that there will be some positive change. And I'm looking forward to that. I can tell you, I've experienced racism myself. I've experienced it from police. I've experienced it from other people too. And that's just part of growing up. But I think that we have an opportunity as a people, as a collective group of Americans, to make some positive changes and to learn from some mistakes of the past and be able to come out on the other side a much stronger company, a much more unified country, and ultimately be able to be better as a society and as just people in general. So I want that to be the end goal here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's all about being more empathetic towards one another, understanding everyone's situation, and it's just loving one another. I mean, I've seen over the past, I guess, week more and more like stuff about what's going on and trusting and being empathetic towards each other, like whether it be influencers or people that I went to high school with. It's like everyone is starting to understand and get on this movement, but it's all about continuing the movement, whether it be a month or a year from now. Like this doesn't stop here. Like it has to be a universal thing that everyone understands. I shouldn't say everyone, because not everyone's going to understand, but if you have a majority of the people that understand, everyone is equal and loving one another. Like that has to continue.
I agree. And I think I really feel like this situation is going to have some positive impact. I think when it's all said and done, there will be some more inclusion. There will be some more accountability for things when they are wrong. I believe that this will have an impact, and I hope and pray that's what the goal is of this whole thing.
Sure, definitely. So if that's it, Ron, thank you for answering all of my questions, answering the chat's questions. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. Something different for us, that's for sure. I learned a lot. Hope everyone in the chat learned a lot as well. So until next week will be, of course, week 3 of CtD Tech Thursday. So Ron, thank you for joining us. Hope you have an awesome night. Chat, have an awesome night. And we will talk to you all next week. Goodbye.
All right. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.